I've been working on nuclear power issues in Japan since 1983. And my organization, Green Action, is one of the organizers of the Global Conference for Nuclear Power Free World. And as one of the organizers, I'm very glad to be here to tell you about the conference and also our view about the significance of having it now and what is going on in Japan. I think that the timing of the conference is very significant. As mentioned by earlier speakers, in 2 days, there will be only 5 nuclear power plants operating in Japan out of the 54. And by May, it will be 0. No nuclear power plants operating in Japan if restart has not happened. And so never in the world has there been an opportunity to phase out nuclear power rapidly. This is an opportunity that has fallen in our lap due to the disaster of Fukushima. But it's now going to be a very interesting year. And right at the beginning of that year, we're having this international conference. The other, of course, very significant thing is that in 2 months will be the first anniversary of Fukushima. And as you all know, during these last 10 months, the Japanese government has tried its best to try to put it under the rug as much as possible. Of course, it's impossible because it's such a huge disaster. But it is trying very hard to tell the public that it is not as significant a disaster as it really is. As mentioned by earlier speakers, the amount of radiation that has been released is estimated to be about 160, perhaps 170 times, this is for cesium, as was released with the Hiroshima bomb. So this is a massive amount of radiation that has been released. And of course, the repercussions of that are now going to be appearing and unfolding. So therefore, the Japanese public concerned about nuclear power in Japan are basically working on 2 issues, as you know. The first is this restart issue, very significant, because there are excellent arguments why these plants should not be restarted. So in May, there will be no nuclear power plants operating if restart doesn't happen, as I mentioned. And the arguments are very significant because, first of all, we still do not know what really happened at Fukushima, what were the causes, and what really happened. The evidence is quite clear that actually the accident unfolded and started with the earthquake before the tsunami. That pipe damage had occurred because radiation was released. There is monitoring that showed that. And there was high levels of radiation within the site even before the tsunami hit. That would then mean that all of nuclear power in Japan, all plants would have to be rethought. The safety, the seismic issues, everything would have to start from scratch. The other arguments, of course, are that now we have the Nuclear Safety Commission has set 50 kilometers for evacuation. And in our area in central Japan, this is Kansai Electric, the 2nd largest utility, it's a big, big issue, this 50 kilometers, because if you want to have evacuation plans within 50, it's a huge population. And the governors of Shiga and Kyoto are demanding safety agreements with the utility. That's the same as for Fukui, where the plants are sited. The other issue we're facing right now is a complete revamping of the nuclear safety regime. As you know, NISA is being dismantled. So here we're trying to have, the government's trying to have restart when there is no regulatory system that is working. It's being revamped. And so that's what we are working on, the restart issue, not preventing the plants to go online again. And of course, the other big issue is Fukushima and what we are calling the right to evacuate, meaning the right to be able to leave and be compensated by the government. And as you know, within even now 60 kilometers away, in Fukushima City, where the delegations will be visiting and we'll be hearing about the citizens there, fighting because even in Fukushima City, the levels are so high in the Watari district that there needs to be evacuation. And 60 kilometers is significant worldwide because notably, for example, New York City, Indian Point is exactly 60 kilometers from New York City. So we're talking about Manhattan, the Bronx, etc. In my case, it would be Kyoto City. It would be the Gosho, the old Imperial Palace. That's the kind of area we're talking about, is the expanse in what's happened with Fukushima. And one of the difficulties we are facing here in Japan is, of course, Japan wants to keep this problem undercover within Japan. And NGOs have asked the UN to come in to investigate the violation of the human rights of Fukushima children. We asked them in August, and we know that the UN wanted to come. This is the Office of the High Commission for Human Rights. They wanted to come in November and December, and the Japanese government stonewalled. And in fact, they lied and said that they're waiting for the UN to ask again, whereas the ball was in the court of Japan. And finally, Japan was successful in pushing it back, and the investigation will not be undertaken until a year later, November. So we're struggling with those issues, and so it's very significant to have this international conference now, because we want to open it up, because responsible international bodies need to be involved, need to critique Fukushima, need to see what's happening here. And this is an excellent opportunity to open that up. And finally, in closing, I want to say that the conference, we've organized it so it's quite comprehensive. There will be a lot of Fukushima citizen involvement. Citizens are coming down, they've organized various workshops. There'll be an opportunity to speak with these people who directly know what a nuclear accident is about. And there are hibakusha coming from around the world. There are nuclear power experts that will be discussing the very latest nuclear power issues, problems, at the very fore knowledge of what's really happening and what are the real problems. And then very importantly is a discussion about how do we turn the page to a new kind of world. And this is not just about technical, renewables, this kind of technology or that, but more comprehensive about policy change, about how we make the next step forward, and that we can turn that step to the next stage if we can stop this huge roadblock, which is nuclear power, and go on to the next step. So I think that in Japan, this is going to be an incredibly exciting year, and this conference is happening right at that time, and it's international. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.